Hi. So after a couple of years, I finally let me speak at this one. It's kind of cool. Thanks so much for joining. It's a great honor to be here. I'll quickly take a minute to introduce myself, introduce Foundation Capital, which is the venture firm that I work for. And then I'll quickly let the great panelists here to introduce themselves. In case you wonder what you're doing here, you're going to learn about a number of international platforms that are bringing the elements of marketplace lending into their own respective countries, as well as getting a better understanding of what it takes to bring institutional investors into each of those platforms. And so I think it's going to be a really entertaining panel. We only have a few minutes, so I'm just going to be very quick. So Foundation Capital is roughly a 20-year-old firm, and we've been very, very active in the marketplace lending space. We are one of the early backers of Lending Club, proud backers of OnDeck, proud backers of Lending Home in the real estate side, as well as Ox Money. And we have a couple of surprises for the next few months on other platforms that we've recently been honored to participate in. And so we are really proud of how the industry has evolved over the past few years, and I'm really excited to let our panelists here introduce themselves. Let's just do it in like a couple of minutes, please, and just saying like your name, your role, which country you're coming from, which platform you're in, and kind of like what asset class are you playing, and whether you're taking institutional money or retail money. That's sort of like basic introduction, because I'm pretty sure that you're going to be exposed to a wider audience than normally on this side. So thank you.
My name is Alejandro Cosentino, coming from Argentina. I'm the founder and the CEO of Afluenta. Afluenta is the first marketplace, peer-to-peer marketplace in Latin America. We are offering consumer loans. We are taking retail investors, and we started a couple of months ago with institutional investors. We have been operating in the market for approximately 3 years. Argentina, as you may know, is a more complicated market, for finances. But I mean, we have been navigating, the difficulties of the market quite well. We have more than $4 million originated in approximately 1,500 loans that generated more than 100,000 fractional loans. We have been delivering in the last 12 months approximately 20% net return in US dollars. And approximately we have a collection ratio about 4%. And the main challenge, as many challenges for the marketplaces, are to get credit-worthy borrowers, which is essentially we are getting through different acquisition channels that helping us to grow faster, especially social networks and essentially other acquisition channels like email markets and all the stuff. This is the main component of our business.
Okay, thank you. I think my mic's working. So I'm Neil Roberts of Harmoney. We're New Zealand's one and only licensed peer-to-peer lender in New Zealand. We have a consumer product. We were the first to launch, I think, perhaps even globally, with a substantial amount of institutional money. And we were able to get that because we were an experienced team that had built up a similar business in the past. And we launched with $100 million worth of lending capital. And we launched on the 12th of September officially. And as we speak, we've just passed 50 million in lending capital. And to give you an idea, there's 4.2 million people in New Zealand, and only about 2.8 million of them bother to actually work. So, to give you an idea of scale. And we take about 20% of retail money, and we have a beachhead. We have a team, an experienced team that's already about to be up and running in Australia to join my colleague on the right, Greg of Society One.
Thanks, Neil.
No worries.
Greg Simons, I'm one of the co-founders of Society One in Australia. Originally founded our ClearMax platform based in New Zealand in 2007. We spent quite a few years developing that platform for the purpose of what we do today, and Matt Simons and myself launched Society One in 2012 in Australia. We were the first compliant peer-to-peer lender in the region. We've been now trading for just under 3 years. Our strategy's been a very, very simple one. The biggest issue being first to market is you're pioneering. You've got a lot of compliance, especially in Australia where it's a very regulated market. And it actually has managed investment scheme structures which can yield investment grade products quite easily. So we took an MIS and we restructured this MIS to suit what is essentially a peer-to-peer model, marketplace lending model. The benefit behind that is that every investor that gets access on the platform ultimately it's deemed to be a fixed income product in the Australian market, and not like I think in the UK and the New Zealand context where there's lenders and borrowers. We actually equitize the debt on our platform to an investment product. As I say, we've been trading for just under 3 years. We've yielded at the moment 10.3% to our investors in that MIS. We are 100% transparent with regards to the fractional interests being visible right the way through the process to the borrower itself. So it is a genuine one-to-many relationship through our MIS. Very shortly we'll be going retail as well. Traditionally we've had mainly institutional money on our platform. That was pretty strategic because we felt that an organic start in a big market like Australia required very sophisticated scorecards. And whilst we had an experienced team, we still at the end of the day wanted to make sure when we did go to market, when we did go retail, we had some track record we could point to on the performance of our portfolio, which we believe we have now. And we certainly are very excited about our future this year. We announced a large deal last year with what we call a media consortium, which we're programming some significant work for the balance of this year with regards to growth strategies. But mechanically, we're very happy with where we're at. So it's all good. Thank you.
I'm Meg Zwick with Millennium Trust Company. I am Director of Alternative Custody Services. Millennium primarily focuses on providing custody services for alternative assets. We've been around for about 15 years, and initially we're retail focused, and within the last 5 years have become more institutionally focused and began supporting the marketplace lending industry in 2011 and pioneered a custody solution for one of the primary platforms in the United States, and then expanded that to other platforms. Currently we have about $4.5 billion in assets under custody just in the marketplace lending space. We service institutions, RIAs, fund managers, and other managers of private investment pooled vehicles.
Morning all, I'm Viola Llewellyn. I'm the Global COO of Ovamba Solutions Inc. I'm the co-founder along with Marvin Cole of an Africa-focused marketplace lender. We are electronic based. We launched and started in the United States in April 2013. Actually, yesterday was our 2nd year anniversary. Opened our doors in Douala, Cameroon on June 2nd of last year. Began originating loans to African SMEs on August the 12th and have been steadily lending ever since then. Our focus is on matching borrowers who are creditworthy using our underwriting methodologies, which include a lot of African cultural references in order to assess the creditworthiness of this very specified sector. And we take capital from institutional investors, high net worth individuals, and accredited, mostly outside of the United States for SEC reasons that you can imagine. Our proprietary system produces returns that can be measured anywhere from 8 to 16%, depending on the risk rating. We partner with financial institutions, both in Africa and out, to co-originate these loans, with many other products coming out very shortly for the trade finance, freight forwarding, and customs clearance sector. Our loans are short-term, 3 to 6 months. Our loan tickets are anywhere from 3,000 to 100,000 euros. And we're very glad to be here. We are probably Africa's first peer-to-peer marketplace lender at this point, not including South Africa.
All right. So, okay, all of you probably have for the first time an opportunity to pitch a lot of potential institutional investors. So what is, in 1 minute, like the main thing that they should know about your platforms and how to access the loans that are coming out of your platforms? Each of you. Alejandro.
Essentially, what is important for you to know is that the emerging Latin markets are ready, for peer-to-peer lending or online marketplace lending. I mean, technology we have in our platform is a state of the art. I mean, I think today we will release one new version of the platform as René Laplanche, said that the browser user is changing. We have a lot of users changing different technologies. Mobile in Latin America is very important. Probably 80% of the population has smartphone applications. Depend the sophistication they have, but there's a smartphone at the end. So essentially, we are offering a good technology. We have a seasoned experienced team, for handling risk assessment coming from different financial institutions across the region. We are ready. We're in Argentina, but we are expanding, to Peru, Colombia, and Mexico this year. We are ready the due diligence process, for understanding the regulation and complying with all the stuff. We have a good set of technology to comply with our money laundering things in every country, which is important and it's complicated. Legislation there. Regulators there oversee quite close, financial institutions or financial services. So essentially, we are offering a hub, for different institutional investors to get better yields because the banking spread across Latin America is huge. In Brazil, the spread is more than 100% a year. In Mexico, it's more than 40% a year, and in the same thing in Colombia and in Peru. So our marketplace technology help to reduce the cost for the consumers and get better return for you as institutional. At the same thing, we are working on retailers.
Okay, I'd say, well, what might you be looking for? Obviously, an experienced team, a team that can underwrite credit, a team that's compliant, so the underlying paper is worthy of the security, and one that can drive decent volumes. I think those, and then perhaps finally tax. So we're a team that put a business together in 2001, did 3.2 billion in personal loan volumes, application-wise 1.6 billion in written. Did that over 5 years. The business made 100 million pre-tax profit, and we sold that business to GE. So it's the same nucleus of the team that we brought together to bring to the market Harmony. Are we compliant? Well, there's a unique piece of legislation that passed recently in New Zealand. So we actually have a placement law. In our financial services regulations now, there is a place for peer-to-peer lending. So our equivalent, the SEC, the FMA, we're licensed, and they have all power, and they were the first set of due diligence. Then we had a local bank invest in us and pre-launch put $50 million in a committed line of funding, and they don't do that without parking a Boeing 737 of compliance people outside the front door and really swarming you and making sure that your business is worthwhile. We then had an investment from the biggest platform in New Zealand, a company called TradeMe. It dominates the online space. It's an Amazon type and an eBay type of operation. They had a very different view. They were looking at our technology and could we market ourselves, could we originate customers. And then finally we have for overseas investors, we have a friendly tax regime where you do have to qualify, but you can join our Lending Club Advisors type of product, and the tax rate's 2%. So for those 5 reasons, I think in a minute. I'll be with you. Yeah.
I think we've taken a very traditional view in what institutional money is looking for, and as I say, we run a managed investment scheme that was actually modelled on very much what warehousing would be in the traditional sense for warehousing loans that ultimately become securitized. So for us, it's pretty simple. You need to ensure that the receivables you're originating are very homogenous. They are underwritten on a very standardized criteria. That criteria is tracked properly. Our scorecards have only changed once in our history. The major change is happening actually as we speak at the moment. We backtest what the performance in our portfolio looks like, and ultimately we can therefore stand behind the returns that we've been yielding over the last, I think it is 11 quarterly static pools of performance. So the benefit behind our structure is it's an investment grade structure, and we're offering a solution which is very understood already by the traditional industry, which I think makes the barrier to entry a lot easier.
Well, I'm probably the only one up here that isn't representing a specific platform, but Millennium is a service provider to all of these platforms, and as I mentioned, we began supporting institutional investors in the marketplace lending space in 2011 and have seen the industry grow and the trends that have been going along, such as leverage and securitization, and have expanded our services to support those trends, and well over a year recognized that our institutional investors would be taking that next step in looking to international markets, and attended Lend It Europe last year and made some connections with some of the foreign platforms. We've spoken with Harmony and Funding Circle UK and some other platforms as well, and really working through the regulatory issues that come with going outside the border, while still meeting the U.S. requirements for advisors or other institutional investors that really just want to offer their investors transparency by providing third-party reporting or verification services of all of the platforms. And each platform has a unique way of operating, and Millennium has worked with all of the different platforms jointly to satisfy the requirements of all of these different institutional investors. And of course, we're entertaining foreign investors in the U.S. platforms as well.
Well, I think the Africa growth story doesn't lack any documentation with a growth rate that's trending north of 5%, a credit gap that goes underserved year after year of something in the region of $368 billion US. The positioning of Avamba is such that the leadership has a background that is a combination of McKinsey, Deloitte, Rothschild, Unisys Corporation, KPMG Consulting. We have an in-house team of credit underwriters that come from some of the best that Cameroon has to offer in terms of banking expertise. Our platform was written by ourselves, designed by ourselves to take into account the nuances of the African market, which is very easily misunderstood by Westerners. As it relates to what we can offer to investors, Africa is definitely a destination for investment that has yet been unexplored, and we're very proud to be the vanguard of that. We are able to provide transparency, full support, predictable returns. At the moment, it's scary that we have a zero default in all of our loans due to our very conservative underwriting, and I know that that won't last forever, but it's very nice to enjoy that at the present moment. The best thing that we can offer anybody who wants to have a one-on-one conversation with us is to explain to you why you should diversify a portfolio with an emerging market such as Africa. And with Cameroon being the gateway to the CEMAC region, which is a unified group of 6 countries, one currency that is indexed directly to the euro with no currency exposure on the forex side, I think we offer something rather interesting. No one's done what we're doing before. And we are also a great disruptor to the current financial institutions who are unable to serve, as I said, this $368 billion worth of unserved credit, not because there's a lack of money, there's a lot of money, but the channels and the conduits are not developed. It's a nascent market, and electronic usage of any type is still growing, and we're defining that ecosystem for ourselves and for anybody else coming along behind us.
So one of the things that I really like when talking to different platforms, particularly when they're operating in a foreign country, and I'm probably going to put you all on the spot a little bit, but we'd love if you could tell us one unique insight about the market that you're operating, like whether it is the way that you're acquiring borrowers, the way that you're underwriting them, the way that you're producing on returns, something unique about your specific platforms. And we'll have for bank.
Can I answer that? The thing that's unique about us is the data darkness of Africa, excuse the pun, is such that it's very difficult. We don't have FICO scores. We don't have anything of that sort. Ovamba's activities today is creating the data that many others are going to want to acquire from us in order to create their own market niches or to underscore business credit or individual credit, and we're becoming quite the repository for a lot of that information for marketing purposes and credit decisioning. So we're a great partner in that respect.
I think the Australian consumer market, we're not just in consumer, we do agri as well and into commercial, but the reality is that consumers for some reason in New Zealand and Australia have, we've been in a negative reporting environment for many years on our credit information, so we're moving into this comprehensive game now, which is appalling actually in 2015. I know New Zealand's a bit ahead of us, but not much. And it's that big education. I think, you know, the one thing is educating consumers in peer-to-peer lending and the benefit behind that. You want to bring risk-based pricing into that, and then you want to actually try and educate consumers that they can leverage their credit score at the same time, and that they have some power. You're giving the borrower back that power ultimately to get the right deal for themselves. In our neck of the woods, consumers have been led to feel very when they approach the bank for a personal loan, which is quite common in our area of the world, it's almost like it's good to have me on board in your bank. It's actually quite an honour to be banked by you. We're changing that to the point where the borrower is empowered now to leverage their creditworthiness for a better deal. And I think our big focus is going to be on that experience because from the investor point of view, our treasury is good. We're absolutely fine in that area, but bringing the real experience to the borrower, educating them, and you know, in 30 seconds, what we did last year was launched what we call Get Credit Score. It was a free service for consumers to get their credit score, which is in Australia unknown to almost everybody, including the most sophisticated people in Australia. In 2 weeks, we had over 600,000 visits and gave out hundreds of thousands of free credit scores. And it was done with not a dollar's worth of advertising spend. So that gives you an indication of the hunger for our marketplace to actually learn a little bit more about their creditworthiness, which is, as I say, in a Commonwealth country is a bit appalling, but it's the education they have to.
I might build on what Greg said, because we share the same major banks have 80% market share. They're protected by legislation, so they can't be bought or they can't buy each other, so they call it the full pillar policy. And as such, the pricing is very high. You know, one of the things I left out just before was the sort of returns that you might expect on the Harmoney platform. You know, a net of losses and net of our fees of around 16%. So, and this is in a very much a westernised economy. So, building up, what would I say uniquely, in just a few short months in a very small economy, you know, we've done 50 million in volume, but we have 44% brand recall unprompted. That's what Harmoney's achieved in just 5 or 6 months. The peer-to-peer message is so strong and people have warmed to it so much in our country.
We understand Latin markets. You know, the team at Polenta, you know, have been working in different countries and in different functions in financial institutions. So we understand Latin America. So for because we understand in Latin America, we dominate, the legislation, and we understand legislation, for avoiding any kind of problem. So that is a safe place, for institutional investors to invest. We are clearly focused on consumer loans at this point in time, about the launching SME loans in the future when we have the technology, to have the same kind of services. But I mean, I can say that the key point for Afluenta is that, and that is the reason because we are expanding to other markets across the region, is we understand the market, profitable market. I mean, probably that Banamex in Mexico is delivering 14% of the entire Citicorp profit, every year. So the market has profit. We understand the market. Our technology is prepared for dealing with the regulation and dealing with all the credit process, to get credit-worthy people with loans that have, with repayment loans that we believe that we will deliver high yield for you.
So it looks like the time is up. I guess as we head into the rest of the conference, the key takeaway for me, at least, is that we often hear that there's no yield out there and that there is no high-quality stuff, whether it's platforms or paper. Here we have multiple examples of platforms that are doing a great job of developing the market in the respective countries, and that little by little you're going to be able to access the loans in those platforms and actually achieve yields that are comparable, or in many cases way higher than what you're available to have here in the US in the mainstream platforms. And as they scale, they're going to have more and more capacity to deploy large amounts of capital. So just keep an eye on them because they're up to something really interesting. Thank you so much for being here. I know it's early times in the conference, and we're really happy to be here. Please join me in thanking them.